Hello, my name is Jacob Crimmins, and this is my Two Countries project. Here's a brief recent history. My HCC are Hungary. In 1991, the Soviet forces withdrew and the Warsaw Pact was dissolved. In 1994, Hungary joined the European Union, and in 1999, Hungary joined NATO. In 2011, Parliament approved a new constitution, but the EU expressed its concern and asks that it was removed. In 2012, aid to Hungary was suspended by the EU. My LDC are Ukraine. In 1991, the USSR dissolves, and it joins NATO in 1994. EU and Ukraine begin to talk of an agreement in 2008, and in 2020, Ukraine makes a deeper commitment to NATO. In 2021, Russian arms build up and it raises alarms, and in 2022, the first Russian troops are deployed into Ukraine. In 2022, into the present, it is the Russia-Ukraine war. Here's the topography. Hungary is a compact state with 93,000 kilometers squared of land, and it has a large amount of arable land. It has an abundance of freshwater lakes and sources, and on the left you can see the Danube River, which flows through Hungary. Ukraine has 603,000 kilometers squared of land, and is also a compact state. It has an extremely large amount of arable land and contains many flat plains crossed by various rivers. Most oftentimes, these rivers flow into the Black Sea, and the Black Sea is extremely important for Ukraine. On the left, you can see the Dnieper, which flows into the Black Sea. A comparison, the differences are that Ukraine is about 6 times larger than Hungary, and the similarities are that both countries have a great amount of arable land. Population. The arithmetic density for Hungary is 107 people per mile squared. The physiological density is 58 people per mile squared of farmland, and the agricultural density is 66 farmers per mile squared of farmland. In Ukraine, the arithmetic density is 66 people per mile squared, the physiological density is 260 people per mile squared of farmland, and the agricultural density is 82 farmers per mile squared of farmland. An analysis is that Ukraine has a much larger physiological density, which means this shows that Ukraine has a much higher dependence on farmland. It also suggests that more are using the available land for farming. The fertility, life expectancy, and infant mortality rates. In Hungary, the fertility rate is 1.56 births per woman. The life expectancy is 75 years old, and the infant mortality rate is 3.8 deaths per thousand births. In Ukraine, the fertility rate is 1.22 births per woman, and the life expectancy is 71 years old. The infant mortality rate is 6.7 deaths per thousand births. An analysis is that Ukraine and Hungary both have very low fertility rates, not crossing the threshold of 2.1 births per woman. It is odd for Ukraine to have such a low fertility rate because it is labeled as an LDC, and it seems as though Ukraine's extremely low birth rate signifies it is a higher stage in the demographic transition model, inferring that it is highly developed. However, this could also be explained by the current war that is going on. Both countries also have high life expectancies as well as low IMRs. These are both signs of countries that are more developed than LDCs. These are the population pyramids for the two countries. An analysis is that both pyramids are visually similar because they look like both countries that are in later stages of the DTM. Ukraine's is extremely odd looking compared to Hungary's. This is because there is a large gap in the 15 to 30-year-olds, and this could just be because there is a war and younger people might be moving out of the country. Hungary's is typical when you're looking at an HGC, and it follows a lot of the same patterns, like the narrow base, which is a signal that the population might decline in the near future. And this is the economy, industry, and agriculture. Hungary in 2022 had a GDP of $342 billion, and multitudes of industries are found here. Heavy industry, energy productions, mechanical engineering, chemicals, food industry, and automobile production are some. The processing industry is a major one that made up 30% of the GDP, and Hungary also has a large tertiary sector of the economy, and it accounted for 64% of the GDP in 2007. Hungary lacks materials like natural gas, fossil fuels, and raw materials for domestic production, but they do not lack other sources like fertile land and the abundance of water. Ukraine had $374 billion USD GDP in 2022, and Ukraine's two major industries are agricultural and mining. It has other industries as well, like defense and arms, automotive industry, aircraft and aerospace industry, shipbuilding, and information technology. Ukraine is also extremely rich in mineral deposits, and it is one of the most important mining and mineral producing countries. Ukraine is also a world leader in the production of certain materials. Agriculture in Hungary has about 16,500 miles squared of farmland, and the farmers typically grow maize, wheat, sugar beets, barley, tomatoes, and sunflower seeds. They also cultivate livestock, typically the Hungarian grey cattle. In Ukraine, they have about 150,000 miles square of farmland, and it is known as the breadbasket of Europe. Livestock is also cultivated here, most commonly cattle and pigs, but as a result of the war, the population of them will be declining. Site and situation factors for Hungary are site. Because of their abundance of water supplies, they are able to supply almost the entire state with clean water. And the situation, since they are in the European Union, they are able to trade well with the other members. Site and situation factors for Ukraine are that an important site factor for the Ukraine is the Dnieper River. This is because it gives access to the Black Sea, in which most of Ukraine's imports travel through. For the exports, it's about 98% of them. Situation factors is that because of the closeness to Russia, Ukraine, despite multiple attempts, is unable to join the European Union. Analysis: Ukraine, although the LDC had a higher GDP in 2022 than Hungary in the same year, and in proportion to their total sizes, both Hungary and Ukraine make use of their great amount of available fertile land. Ukraine overall produces more than Hungary, even though it is the supposed LDC, and Hungary also has an advantage over Ukraine because of the free trade agreements of the European Union. Cities and services. Cities and their urban structures. Hungary, Budapest is the largest city, and it follows the Hoyt sector model. And Kyiv is the largest city in Ukraine, and it follows the multiple nuclei model. Transportation in Budapest is that Budapest is very good transportation-wise, meaning you can walk, take a trolley, streetcar, bus, subway, and they all get a person to where they need to go. The reason why public transportation is so good because it was developed because Budapest was originally 3 separate cities. And Kyiv also has good transportation with streetcars, trolleys, buses, metro stations, and they can also be utilized to for a person to make their way around the city. Culture, religion, and language. In Hungary, Hungarian is most spoken language, and Roman Catholic is the most popular religion. In Ukraine, Ukrainian is most popular language, and Orthodox Christian is the most practiced religion. Large migration after the USSR dissolved and during the present-day war are migration trends in Ukraine. In summary, both countries have their own uniqueness in their topography, population, and other aspects, but they also have some similarities. They have a large amount of arable land, however, when looking at both countries, Hungary does seem to be an LDC, but Ukraine does not look to be much of an LDC. This is because of the signs like the population pyramid, GDP, industries, and fertility rate, which all point to it being a highly developed country. Thank you.